Hey y'all, it's another double dose episode of Steph and Cat Talk Wow, where people try to outsmart the Wild World Champion, the Beast, and try to stake their claim to tag team victories. This is Steph and Cat Talk Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Making her way to the mic. They start dimming the lights. You start feeling alright. From Birmingham, home of the Teddy Longs and the Ruben Studders. More once you discover. For all of the lovers, Whitney Houston and Roman Reigns. For all of the lovers, and Mickey James and Marvin Gaye. For all of the lovers, and Sasha Banks, Janelle Monáe, Silk, Sonic, and Paige. Allow me to say, look, I just found a place, sweet escape. Every one of us, I was kinda late, cause I just made it off the struggle bus. Walking by the fate, cause I know it's right in front of us. Yo, I ain't with the hate, gotta focus on what's great.
Hey y'all, welcome to a new episode of Steph and Cat Talk Wow, the best WoW superheroes post show in the entire planet. We are here on this Friday evening to give you the latest and greatest of what's going on the hottest all women's wrestling TV show on like in forever. I lost my train of thought right there. But of course, I'm your girl, Stephanie Hardy, host and creator of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast, contributing writer for Daily DDT, and color commentator featured on the Belladonna Division, Battle Club Pro, Black Girl Magic 2022, Spartan Wrestling, and soon to be Black Girls Wrestle in September. Stay tuned for that. But of course, I'm not alone. I am with my fabulous tag team partner who is wearing a ball cap with a very beautiful symbol on it. Not sure what it is, but it's cute. She is the creator of In Cat We Trust. She is a contributing writer for Daily DDT as well as an author and creator of the Women of Color in Wrestling panel and a super mom. She is Katrina Blake. How are you, Kat?
Hey, I am fine. This is actually Guardians of the Galaxy, Marvel. It's a hat I got from an event I did, I think, a year and a half ago, and so I'm finally wearing it. So, but I am well, very tired. It's been I feel like I'm always tired, but happy to be here.
Yeah, okay. See, Guardians of the Galaxy, that kind of makes sense, but I just know, just looking at it, it looks like a bird or something like a peacock, but it's just really unique looking. So it's cute.
Yeah, thanks.
Regardless. Yeah, I love Marvel merch. Like they seem to have like the best designers on hand whenever there's something coming out and their merch is just everywhere and their stuff is just always cute. So I love it. So, um I would say, what do you want to talk about? But we're here to talk about WoW. But yet, so much has been going on in wrestling, in women's wrestling as a whole. New signees have been going off and doing their new things. People have been beating people with shoes and all of the above. People have been falling off of ladders and into tables. I witnessed that one firsthand. It's been a crazy week in the world of women's wrestling, but it's still a blessed week all the same. So, Kat, what would you say has been your favorite part of women's wrestling in this past week?
I really loved the Money in the Bank women's match. I thought, the guys is cool, and this is no shade to them, but I thought the women really did their thing. Really awesome moments. Was I a little bit mad at the winner? Yes. 'Cause I was like, Trinity! I was hoping for Trinity, just semi biased. I was hoping for Trinity, but otherwise, I think it was a fantastic match. That's probably was the highlight for me. I want to say, like, there was other like moments, but that I thought they really did deliver there, and so it was really good to see.
Yeah, I would say that those are definitely like valid favorites because like I mentioned earlier, I was available firsthand for that ladder match because I was there as media for the Hardy Wrestling podcast. So I did get to see that ladder match and it was absolutely spectacular. Just all of the moves that they were pulling off and just all of the craziness that was happening You mentioned Naomi slash Trinity and just her athleticism being on display as a whole. Like she was amazing in the match. But yeah, Miss Tiffany Stratton, friend of the pod now, witnessed the got the briefcase, and congrats to her. But I will also say another favorite part, another highlight from this past week that I had was also the match between Kalani Jordan and Sol Ruka for the NXT Women's North American title. That match was beautiful. I loved every inch of it with these women that are just so equally talented in gymnastics and all of the above, but also learning and showing what they've learned from the performance center since they've started wrestling. It was just a beautiful display. And then those two women being black women as well, just watching that excellence, take place was just amazing too. And yeah, I really loved Mariah May finally turning on Tony Storm after winning the women's Owen Hart Cup Wednesday. That was incredible too. So there's just been so many blessings in the world of women's wrestling that's been going on. But we're here to talk about WoW specifically because they've had some blessings going on too. This is a double dose episode, which means we will be talking about the last two episodes that aired for WoW. The first one being Outsmarting the Champion, and the other one is Twin Turmoil. So, in this first episode, we had a new intro that aired on this episode. But the match, well, not the match, but the episode itself started with a tag team match with top tier, a 6-woman tag team match with top tier going up against the Dojo Defenders and Sierra Breeze. Now, of course, the Dojo Defenders are Tara Strike and Kara Kai, and they dress up in black and white. And you have Sierra Breeze, who is from the Bahamas, who just made her debut a couple of weeks ago against Penelope Pink. And you have top tier, who is just out here trying to dominate everybody. Um, and what's so funny is this match started with Sierra Breeze dancing instead of checking her pulse with Gloria Glitter. And Gloria did not like that. So she basically just went just hard on Sierra Breeze with a lot of her toughness on display. And then Kara was able to tag in and light up Coach Campanelli with kicks and her Karana. Like this match was very high octane and very energetic. Just lots, and then you had the chemistry of top tier being on full display throughout the match. And sadly enough, after Coach Campanelli snatched Karakai off of the apron, Sierra almost won, but Gloria Glitter hit her with an aerobic annihilator, and top tier won the match. And the children were booing them after they won. But after that, they decided to cut a promo. And Coach Campanelli said, in case you all forgot, we are the Trios Tag Team Champions, and we have the trophy to prove it. Now, when I started this team, I knew exactly what I wanted, and it was executed perfectly. Professional boxer, professional in cardio and aerobics. We will take on any trio tag team. And David, we're coming to the table because we've got some business to discuss. You're welcome. And they stayed to watch the next match. Now, Katrina, how did you feel about this 6-woman tag and the chemistry that Top Tier had on display and the performance of the Dojo Defenders and Sierra Breeze?
I thought, considering that Ciara worked really well with the Defenders, honestly, especially for this is her second match, I believe, in WoW, and this is the first time she tagged with them, and so I do think, considering, she worked really well with them. With that being said, Top Tier has been together for some time now, and even in light of when I spoke to Crush and Coach Campanelli a few days ago, it was kind of alluded that, the ladies of Top Tier is basically following whatever Coach Campanelli says, whatever her playbook is, they're going off of that. And I think that, helped towards their win. Honestly, I do feel like they do have the chemistry there. And I said this to them as well. They're three of them are very different in stuff of how they wrestle. Very different of what you can get from the three of them, on top of whatever aspects that makes them, I guess, work as a team. And I think it helped in this regard. I was sad because, I don't particularly like how they're doing things, it seems a very vast difference from how we saw Crush in the beginning and how we so even Coach, like, I mean, no, Coach Campanelli kind of was iffy with me in regards to how she did things sometimes, where I felt like she was a bit mean about how she went about things. Um, I even said, like, when they lost the tag belts, her and Randy, I was actually a little bit, we were upset about that, like, we was like, wait a minute, like, we were upset, and so to see us from going, for me at least, from being like upset that they lost the tag title to now I'm like, I really like how y'all running right now, like, it's unfortunate. And so I do feel the boos were rightful boos, but it did make sense in regards to they're just on a different place right now as far as how they are moving as a unit, and it helped them in the long run. Good match though, but I'm still like, oh, you girls, hurts.
Yeah, the interview that you did with Coach Campanelli and Crush was really good. So if you have not watched that already on InCat We Trust YouTube channel, please go on there and watch it. I did share a clip from it on our social media pages, well, at least on mine anyway. But please go on there and watch it because it was such a good interview. But yeah, you do kind of not. It does kind of sour their rise when you see, what their motivations are and just how it just turned into something just really negative. And I definitely understand that because you have this team that's just so, varied in all of their talents, but yet the motivation behind why they're doing it is just so mean a lot of the time. And it's just so much aggression behind it. And it does kind of make you sad a little bit, but at the same time, it's a system that clearly is working because you're fighting against these new WoW superheroes, who are fresh, who haven't teamed together before, but at the same time, they still have a lot to prove. But yet, you're a working machine and you're able to get the job done in that way. So top tier really has been, operating on all cylinders here. And they proved it in the match and then they also said it in their promo with after the match. Like they're here, to prove that nobody can really top them as the trios tag team champions. And then of course, they stayed on commentary because they had some business to talk about with David McClain, but also they were interested in watching the next match, which was Las Bandidas versus the All American Girls 2.0 in Santana Garrett and Americana. They stayed on guest commentary, and Angel and Sylvia Sanchez basically jumped Santana and Americana before the match even got started. The bells started ringing, as they were jumping them, but then the All American Girls got the upper hand on them after a while during that brawl. But in the midst of it, there was a lot of great action on the part of Las Bandidas with trying to just wear down the All American Girls, but then Santana was utilizing her submission work in order to get the upper hand on Sylvia. And it was just a great back and forth tag team match between both of these teams. But in the end, Santana Garrett wound up bouncing back in a big way and um attacking Sylvia and Angel, and she won with a little bit of a stratisfaction. She did a backflip, and then used her legs to thrust Angel Rose forward and break and kind of just hurt her back and covered her for the 1, 2, 3. And it just seems like there's been so much magical Trish Stratus energy going on in the past week or so. So I thought that was interesting how that happened. So they won the match. But top tier, after being on commentary and talking about how they came together as a team after being questioned by David and Nigel, proceeded to attack the All American Girls. But Ariel Sky came to their rescue and attacked all three members of top tier with that bucket of water that she used to carry for them. And then she cut a promo stating, Coach Campanelli, one thing since I got here a while, you've taken me under your wing. And if that's right, you taught me everything that I know. That being said, you think top tier is the best? Well, I'm ready for a rematch with my friends. So this might mean that somewhere down the line, we will be seeing a rematch between Ariel Sky and top tier, just with a different set of partners. So, Katrina, how did you feel about the match between Las Bandidas and the All American Girls and what happened afterward with Top Tier attacking them?
I think before the attacking part happened, I thought it was a really good match. I thought, Los Bandidas has, like, while they had some losses recently, like we have said many times that they work so well together. And we did feel the way about how they were acting towards Sofia Lopez. We was like, okay, you don't do all that to the person that kind of got you together. Um, but I do think they work well together, with that being said. And so to have that, and then you have Satana and Americana, who, since their team up after everything that happened, with Jesse and with like, to an extent it was Jesse, and then it was just a lot of stuff going on with the way that played out. And I think they also worked really well. I wasn't surprised that Top Tier got involved at some point, just because they were out there still. And I'm like, there's really no reason that you need to be out here to talk to David. In that regard, you didn't need to necessarily be here for the match to do that. Like, you could have went backstage, you could have waited to after the show, but you stayed there. And that told me they were itching to do some nonsense. And sure enough, they did. And so, fact that Ariel kind of came out, I appreciated that, considering what happened with her and Top Tier, and the level of basically trying to, like, she'll get one up and then they would do something to knock her back down. I thought this was a nice way for her to kind of show her thank you to an extent. I believe they helped her last 2 weeks ago, when they came out to help her, and so she kind of returned the favor. And so I thought it was nice of her. But Top Tier are gonna do what they do. I feel like it was very obvious that's kind of where they were going with it. When they stayed outside, I was like, yeah, you need to be out here unless you're gonna do some nonsense, and lo and behold, they did nonsense. So I wasn't surprised. But even with that being said, I do think the match itself is very good. And I thought, like, you know, I always like when you kind of see somebody you might not have seen like a week or two, and then you kind of like, well, this is why they're kind of on the roster. It's always good to kind of see that, like a little reminder, not that you forget, but you know what I mean, like, just like, oh, see, and this is what they could do, and this is always nice to see. And so I thought both groups tag teams did well. It's just unfortunate that what could have been a good win wind up going the way it did, because of Top Tier having to kind of interject themselves in the situation with the All American girls.
Yeah, it was a pretty good back and forth. And here again, Las Bandidas, is still out here trying to prove that they can get victories on their own without Sofia Lopez, and stave, severed ties with her. And it was really good to see that happen, but then to also see the All American girls, sort of bounce back after being embroiled in a feud with Grits and Glam for such a long period of time. To see them fight another tag team was really refreshing for my eyes to see, and I was just really happy to see them get the win. But the thing about Top Tier is, it's like they're looking to punish anybody that's trying to help. Um Ariel Sky, or trying to be on her side. But my thing is, it's like, why would you just want her to be isolated and be alone? Like, she already got free from you guys. Like, why is it that you guys just continue to bully her and continue to make it seem like, oh, well, you're not this and you're not that, so we're just going to keep attacking everybody that tries to be your friend? That's something that irritates me that Top Tier keeps doing. But at the same time, I do like that Ariel isn't backing down from them at all, because in any other circumstance, somebody might back down from them and just not want to fight, but she actually actively wants to fight them and says, "Look, until you guys get the point, I'm going to keep beating you guys up." It's almost like she's the Kevin Owens of of WoW at this point. How Kevin Owens just always finds himself in the crosshairs of the bloodline no matter what iteration. She's kind of like Kevin Owens to them as Top Tier, and I think it's really cool how she's not backing down from them no matter who she's fighting with side by side, and I like that. So I can't wait to see what that 6 woman tag is going to look like. So moving on to the next match. This episode was very tag team heavy, of course, until the main event. But we had another match with the Heavy Metal Sisters 2.0 versus Holidead and Chantilly Chella. Now, of course, this is Rebel Haze and Fury out here as the Heavy Metal Sisters. And Rebel and Holidead started the match off. Um and they got a lock up, but then Rebel actually stuck her tongue out at Holiday, and of course Holiday didn't take too kindly to it because she is very violent, and she's very imposing. So anytime somebody comes at her with the nonsense, she's just gonna bash them in the head. I love it. Um, I live for it. Holiday then put Rebel in a headlock, but then Rebel was actually really good at breaking out of a lot of the moves that Holidead and Chantilly Chella had. Like she is evolving her game the more we see her wrestle. But of course, Holidead was actually able to break her down with a backbreaker. But Chantilly Chella was trying to attempt a couple of moves once she got tagged in, but Fury was able to battle back with a clothesline, and a lot of the agility was on display from Chantilly Chella throughout this match. And initially, there was a really impressive part where Fury actually hit a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker to Chantilly Chella and almost won the match, but then they hit a hang banger press and then a double clothesline. But the penitent was broken up by Holidead, and then Holidead used Rebel as a weapon to knock down Fury for a clothesline. And then Holidead and Chantilly Chella hit an electric chair to Rebel for the win. So Holidead and Chantilly Chella won this match, and it was really good. I enjoyed watching more of the chemistry of Holiday and Chantilly Chella that nobody expected them to have. It was really good. So I enjoyed it very much. And Rebel, like I said, is just continuing to get better and better in ring as we watch her. So, Kat, how did you feel about this tag team match?
Oh, I thought that was fantastic. I do think Holiday and Chantel Chella is just you would have never thought. You have Holiday who was more on the darker end of gear, how she wrestled and everything. In Chantilly, he was a lot more happier. And not saying Holiday wasn't happy, but just the level of cheerfulness that always seems to elude from Chantilly when she's wrestling. And so, to kind of have them work so well together, even though the last time before this episode they did lose, I believe, it still was like, even with that little mishap of communication, they still work very well, surprisingly so. And I think, even Holiday picking up Rebel Haze, like that's a that's a like I'm all for use what you need to use, but also like that's such a way to kind of send a message. Like, I'm gonna use your tag partner as a weapon towards you. I think that was really innovative in that regard. And I respected it. I definitely did. And this is not to say anything with Fury and Rebel Haze, because I do think that even them as a unit, they're getting better and better as a group. And to your point about Rebel, even getting better as well. So like you can just kind of see her in ring ability kind of increasing as well. It definitely is. I think this is a good showcase of that. Honestly, of her, like she's also grown since the time we saw her debut, in this iteration of WoW. And so, I thought this was a really good match, and it's like even fun to an extent, just because of what it's. Again, you have like the heavy metal, but it's like, and they're supposed to be like more about follow along what people can say would be dark, even though it's not. And then you got also Holiday and Chantilly, which is like semi dark, but also very mixed versions of like styles kind of clashing to an extent. But this is a really good match. So I loved it.
Yeah, I loved it too. It was really cool. And then you also have Fury, and and on commentary, David was actually giving Fury a lot of credit because he said that he always felt like she was the one who had the most wrestling knowledge out of both iterations of the Heavy Metal Sisters. And I thought that was interesting how he brought that up. But honestly, Fury is a really great. She has really great mind and in-ring IQ that a lot of people have a tendency to overlook. And I think that that's really cool that they mentioned that on commentary. So kudos to David McClain for mentioning that. But, Holiday and Chantilly Chella really have been on a roll a bit as, a tag team. So for all we know, maybe one day they could challenge for those tag titles. Maybe, who knows? But either way, I would be interested to see how they would battle against the mother truckers at some point. But we just have to wait and see. So before we get to our main event for this episode, there was a backstage interview from the Classmaster, a promo from the Classmaster and Samantha Smart. And Samantha started by saying, Beast, beast, beast. It would be wise for you to expedite your preparations because I have brought the biggest and I have brought the baddest competitor you have ever faced, the Classmaster. And then Classmaster said, it'll be so great when they name me the wrestler in the top wrestler in the class of WoW, and that'll happen tonight after I finish you, Beast. And the Beast responded by saying, "Classmaster, you're coming after what's mine." Well, I hope you're ready for the Beast because I'm ready for you. Fans, stay tuned because it's about to get ugly. And ugly it did get. So we move to the main event, which was the Classmaster versus the Beast for the WoW World Championship. And I believe this is the very first time we have seen anybody from Team IQ Superior fight for the WoW World title, I believe. Maybe. If I'm having a brain glitch, please don't hesitate to tell me, but I really believe this might be the first time we've seen that. And I was interested the first time they announced this on social media because the Beast usually goes up against women who are really good in ring, but size wise don't necessarily match up with her. The Classmaster, on the other hand, is like 6 foot tall, and they look like they're probably about the same height, if not the same build. And I was just really interested in seeing, like, powerhouse women going at it like that. Because you rarely, if ever, get that. So I was really interested in this from jump. So, um, I just couldn't believe it. Samantha Smart even started with the promo telling everybody to sort of stretch themselves and, sort of bend over and bow to the Classmaster to just know what it's like to give credit and praise to an actual champion. But after that, the Beast came in and made her entrance. And I wrote in my notes and said, the Beast has aura in all caps because anytime you see the Beast make her entrance, whether she has a title or not, you just can't help but just look at her because she just has a royal fierceness to her that she just brings every time she walks to the ring. It's just really cool. So this match started with a war of words and a lockup. They were talking trash at each other. And then they got into a little bit of a shoving match, sort of testing each other's strength a bit. And I thought that was really amazing. But the Classmaster tried to go for a big boot, but then the Beast ducked it. And then the Beast tried to go for a punch, but then the Classmaster moved out of her way. And it really seems like they have been studying each other and scouting each other's moves beforehand. And that's something else that I appreciate in wrestling too. Like, don't give off the impression like you've never seen them, like, or like you don't pay attention to them. Like, that was cool. I like that strategy. And so they locked hands eventually, but the Beast outsmarted and outstrengthened the Classmaster and then tossed her into a suplex, gave her a clothesline, and then knocked the air out of Classmaster. But then the Classmaster actually blocked another suplex attempt and then gave the Beast a taste of her own medicine. And then Samantha, of course, got involved because that's what managers do here at WoW. And actually, she elbowed the Beast and then ran away from her. And I'm just like, why can't you just stand on business? If you wanted to get involved, get involved. Don't run away. But that's what she does. And the Classmaster proceeded to give more clubbing blows to the Beast. And then she used her legs more to try to like break down the Beast. But then the Beast actually was able to get up and tackle the Classmaster and then scoop her up finally, like, and beat her up a little bit more. And the Classmaster actually hit a back body drop to the Beast and hit a final chapter choke slam. So Classmaster was really like showing that she could hang with the Beast, and I appreciate that. It was not like a dominant I'm gonna run over you type of feel. And then finally, the Beast speared the Classmaster, but broke up the count in order to teach the Classmaster a lesson, and then gave her another spear and covered her for the 1, 2, 3. And the Beast is still our WoW World Champion. But big ups to the Classmaster because she really did try, and I really appreciated watching her and her ability sort of thrive in that environment with that type of opponent. So, Katrina, how did you feel about this main event match?
I thought this is that's really well. Honestly, you mentioned as far as like the Beast not being able to not necessarily going against an opponent that might have been height wise to the detriment of Classmaster. She won against Vicky Lynn, and Vicky Lynn was supposed to be the powerhouse machine of the Fab Four, and then she went against Rena Del Rey, and she's also somebody who's a bit of like a powerhouse in regards to like wrestling wise. And so you have a situation like that where you have like some tough women, but you also have somebody who's like tough but tall. And I do think that sometimes that changes just a little bit aspects of a match. And so, I do believe that this was the first one from, IQ Superior that went against any champion in that way. And so big ups to, I guess, Classmaster in that regard of getting the opportunity. Even unfortunately, if it meant like when GI Jane was part of them, how it kind of fell apart to the level that it basically kind of pushed her aside for all of this. But I do think that I'm guessing Samantha Smart really believed in the Classmaster, and that's why she was able to kind of get this opportunity the way she did. With that being said, the Beast is the Beast for a reason, and this is Classmaster did what she could do, but the Beast is the Beast for a reason. She was not a champion before, this iteration just because. And when she came back, she was only not champion because she had to give it away, not because she lost it, not because she sucked or any of that stuff. And so I feel like no matter who you are in WoW, or whatever it is that you are in a locker room, you really have to bring your A game, like 100% with somebody like the Beast. You have to bring your A game. The reason why Abilene was able to do the nonsense she was doing, because she was BSing. It wasn't like she was like beating her with like skill. She was literally beating her by BSing. It was also nonsense involved when she took on the Beast. And so in this situation, you just gotta always come real hard for the Beast, and the Beast proved why she was champion. But I thought it was a really fantastic match, and I thought that Classmaster in particular, she really shone in this. I guess this was, we've seen a lot of like we've seen her wrestle before, solo, and we've seen her wrestle as a tag team, but I think when you put her in a match with somebody like the Beast, this really allowed her to shine. And so she did well. It's just like the Beast is the Beast, and I expected nothing less. Honestly, I expected the Beast to retain. I at no point felt worried or like stressed out about it in any way. I knew the Beast would win this, and she did. But this was a really good match, and definitely just kudos to Classmaster for really doing like really showcasing what she can do in this.
Yeah, I was scared that maybe the title of the episode was sort of trying to give like a hint for something happening. Like I thought some shenanigans were gonna take place. And I was about to be like, please don't let us go on this roller coaster again where somebody tries to take the title from the beast in an underhanded way and she has to fight through all these hoops to get it back, please. But thankfully that didn't happen. But I just really enjoyed, seeing the Classmaster rise up to that expectation. And what's so funny is you brought up Abilene Maverick, and on commentary, David was talking about how she was still healing from that injury from to her back that she had sustained in that match that she had with the Beast when she lost the title, and said that once she heals up, she'll be back to challenge the Beast again. So maybe somewhere down the line we will see her challenge the Beast again, and maybe she'll try to BS her way through that time, like you said. But I just had to mention that since you mentioned her. But yeah, like the Beast is really like here for holding on to the title, you know, and just holding on to it with an iron fist now because she didn't lose it the last time. She had to give it up. So the idea that she has it now, that means she's going to knock down anybody that's going to try and get it, no matter how imposing or no matter how parallel they might be to her in size or in skill. And I was really happy to see her, battle back and retain her title in that way. It was really cool, but I can't wait to see more of what the Classmaster has in store as she goes through WoW and matriculates in that way. But we do get to see more of Samantha Smart in the next episode that we're about to talk about, but it's in a way that's kind of problematic, but we'll get to it. So that was the end of that episode, and now we're moving into Twin Turmoil, which aired last weekend. They showed a recap of the Fab Four going up against the Island Dynasty and the Beast, and how the Island Dynasty and the Beast won that match. So That match from a couple of weeks ago fed into this first match, which was Penelope Pink versus Tiki Chamorro. And the Fab Four was very irritated at the idea that she had to fight Tiki Chamorro again because she said she had beaten her before. And Lana Starr was just like, look, we're not interested in fighting Tiki. We want to fight the Beast. And David McClain wasn't trying to hear it. He was just like, bro, like, I scheduled this match because of what happened a few weeks ago, and that was what happened. And Tiki came out for this match, but did not come out with a radiant smile like she usually does. She came out ready to fight. Um, she was not ready to smile or hug or anything like that. She was just ready to fight. And she was definitely getting the upper hand on Penelope Pink with some kicks and some submissions and everything. And of course, Penelope was being her regular braggadocious, aggressive self with basement drop kicks and multiple pins because, of course, she just wants to get it over with because she's not taking Tiki seriously. But Tiki showed her throughout this match all the reasons why she needs to take her seriously. Like she actually hit her with a crucifix pin with and gave her drop kicks and spears with a step up enziguri and clotheslines. And she even had a step up headbutt where she springboarded off of the ropes and gave her two headbutts. And I was just like, dang, Tiki, you're going crazy. But the turning point in the match, which was in Tiki's favor, was Vicky Lynn trying to distract Tiki, but then she winds up getting hit by Penelope, and Tiki rolled up Penelope for the 1, 2, 3, and she won the match. But before she could even celebrate it, she gets attacked by the Fab Four, and the Tonga twins come out to even the odds, and the refs wound up breaking up the fight. And when they came back from commercial, David interviewed Tiki Chamorro and the Tongas, and Tiki stated that her victory was not only big for her, but also big for the people of Guam. And he announced that the main event of this episode was going to be the Tongas versus the Carlson sisters, with all of Fab Four and Tiki banned from ringside. And one of the Tonga twins actually said they were ready to knock down some Barbies off of the shelf. So, Kat, how did you feel about the match between Tiki and Penelope and what happened afterward?
I think they underestimated Tiki, honestly. I felt like the level of kind of dismissiveness, like we don't even want to fight her. Like I want the champion. So I feel like a lot of what they have is definitely audacity. I don't know how you guys think you go automatically to the beast. That's not how this works, you know? You can't go from like, oh, we think this is how. In that case, everybody can say what they want and get everything they want. You know, if that's the way it works, everybody will be very happy if we could just decide this is what we want and we got to get it, and that's just whatever you. And so I think they went in literally just kind of dismissing Tiki. And so I like that Tiki came out definitely more serious, and not to say she shouldn't be her sweet self. I think she should. But I do think that this was the exact attitude to have when you have to deal with somebody from the Fab Four, is because the level of, they think that they're beneath, your belief beneath them. And so the fact that Tiki pulled the win on Penelope, and I don't even like roll up. I say this up to I hate roll up pins. Like I really don't like roll up pin, but I felt like in this regard, even the fact that it was done in that way, I felt like this was like a aha to the Fab Four. You guys underestimated Tiki and didn't take her seriously, and look what happened. With that being said, as far as it being another matchup with them, I kind of said previously before don't know if I necessarily needed to see Miami Sweet Heat and Taga Twins wrestle anytime soon. In regard to just we've seen them wrestle so many times, it's like, okay, weren't they pretty even here? Or did I thought we already handled, at least for now, their feud. Like we handled that already. They had like two matches where it was all hell break loose, basically. Why are we getting this again? And so I did not necessarily understand that aspect of it, but I do think the fact that they had it where there was barment on ringside, meaning that this is what it's going to be, no nonsense, no shenanigans. I thought that was a good step, just because we do know Fab Four is always involving themselves in stuff when they're not in the match. So I thought that was a smart choice, but I was just like, I mean, okay, because we didn't necessarily need this match again. But I figured that the title of the match was going to be them, as those there are the set of twins there, or at least one. They were there previously, one, and the others are still there. And so I figured it was something with them because it was Twin Turmoil for the title of this episode. But it's one of those things where we didn't really need it necessarily. Not that you don't want to see the girls wrestle. It's not that. I just mean in regards to the feud between the two, it wasn't necessarily needed in that regard to be like the main event, because there's still all the tag teams there. They're still, and I felt like they literally did have the feud. I thought, at least, it felt like they did end it at that moment, that we didn't need to rehash it just yet again. But what can you say? I still love the girls, and four of them. It's just, as a fan, I'm like, Jesus, all right, like, can we don't need to keep rehashing. They gave us, they let it all out for us in the ring. The last two times they went, had matches, we didn't necessarily need it to be rehashed to suit. That's all.
I understand. That's a very valid point. Even though they did have, that match between all of them, a couple weeks ago, which they did recap on this episode, I could definitely get how you could probably feel some fatigue because we have seen them fight so many times. But I honestly feel like how some, promotions just have that one great rivalry that just keeps popping back up no matter how much space you take from it. I low key feel like that was sort of what theirs is, sisters. You have twins versus twins. And I didn't necessarily feel that way, but I can definitely understand how someone else could and how you could feel that way because we've seen them fight quite a lot. Um so I didn't necessarily have an issue with it because I knew it was going to be a good tag match regardless. But I was okay with it, but at the same time, it was just I'm glad that the Tongas really just had Tiki's back because it's like there's only so many times the Fab Four can utilize everybody in their group to get the upper hand on somebody. And then, the other person just keeps losing and that's just it. Like, I'm glad that they were actually by their side. And even with the Fab Four messing up this time, because you had Vicky who was trying to interfere on Penelope's behalf, but then Penelope somehow wound up ruining it, and that wound up, getting in their way. That's the second big miscommunication that they've had, since they've been together. And I just think that's something that they're gonna have to address somewhere down the line. But either way, I was glad that Tiki got the win and that she could, have a means of celebration once the odds were even. So that was pretty okay for me. So, match number two was Ice Cold versus Little J Boogie. And something that they did mention on commentary was that Ice Cold used to be a weightlifter along with her being a diver and a swimmer, and that she was a Division 1 athlete. And that was something about her that I definitely did not know, which basically means that she's stronger than we expect her to be. And I think that that's really cool. So, Ice Cold had this really impressive part of this match where she actually stepped on Lil J Boogie's foot and tripped her up into a wrist submission. And I was just like, Miss Ma'am, what are you doing? Ice Cold is another person who keeps showing out every other week too. Like, her abilities are definitely getting better and better as well. Um, and then she reversed Lil J Boogie's head scissors into a Boston crab. And I'm just like, Ice Cold, girl, what are you doing? Like, how are you getting so much smoother and so much better with your transitions? It was just really insane. And then there was a point where Little J Boogie actually danced after doing a hip toss to Ice Cold, but then she wound up getting kicked. And another story that they kept telling was sort of like Lil J Boogie's inexperience in the ring and how sometimes she'll prematurely celebrate before the match was even over or after she hit a move or something like that. Um, and weirdly on commentary, they were saying, "Oh, well, that's a rookie mistake, and that's a da da da." And I'm just like, I understand that you two might know something about wrestling or whatever, but don't make it seem like, she's just, just this rank stranger to wrestling, or making it seem like she's just, like she just doesn't know anything about wrestling. Like, don't mansplain it to her. Like, relax, um, like chill out. But either way. Lil J Boogie was able to bounce back with a flying leg drop and she wound up winning the match. So she won this singles match, and she got to break dance in her victory. So that was really cool. This was a really great match for both women, but I was definitely impressed with Ice Cold. So, Kat, how did you feel about the performance of both of these women here?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's nice to see Little J Boogie after leaving, BK Rhythm and GG. Kind of seeing her like kind of go off on her own and thrive. Do I still think that I don't know how she kind of missed the signs of what kind of ladies they were? Yes, most definitely. But it's nice that she's kind of finding her footing as a singles competitor, and she's been doing that. And so I thought, Ice Cold, I felt like we've been saying she's really just been on it this season. I feel like, we've said before in the beginning, we wasn't sure, where exactly she stood, and just even knowing herself as her character there. And not in like a negative way, just like we wasn't sure where she kind of fit in just yet. Like we knew what the beast was, we knew what the Fab Four was, we just knew. But with her, we wasn't sure. And I feel like when she joined Exile, she really put like it really just lit something under her. Like she's really been trying to prove this. And I think every time we've actually seen her wrestle by herself, she's always just super amazing. Like it's always like, oh man, look, okay, Ice Cold, all right. She came back with the short haircut and she's just been thriving. And so I think, this is just again kudos to her for even showcasing more of what she can do. She has her own stuff outside of wrestling, and I think she's definitely incorporating some of that in what she's doing in ring. So I think she's just been very impressive. But Little J Boogie also kudos for the win, and finding your way on this new journey of a single competitor and well.
Yeah, like Lil J Boogie is finding her way, and I am glad that her match after she tag teamed with Steffi Slays was a singles match because a part of me low key felt like, well, maybe she'll, what would happen if she just stayed with Steffi Slays as a tag team, and before she went off on her own. But it seemed like she went off on her own very quickly, and she did do a good job and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed watching her wrestle Ice Cold in this way. And then you also have Ice Cold sort of being on her own too, for the first time since she debuted on WoW, after being with Exile for so long too. So it seems like both of these women had very equal things to prove here with the match, but at the same time, Lil J Boogie was someone who just they both kind of just got thrust out by their groups, and now they're sort of trying to figure out what it means to swim on their own. And both women did an excellent job here. I'm just gonna need for commentary to back off of Lil J Boogie a little bit because I mean I understand she might be a new wrestler, but that doesn't mean you outright have to just say, "Oh well, that's a rookie mistake," or "That's a da 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 da." Like, okay, relax, y'all, relax, okay. Um, but not too much on her. So it was a good match for the both of them. But I'm glad Lil J Boogie got the win here. So moving forward with match number 3, we had a tag team match with Animal Instinct, that's Goldie Collins and Katarina Jinx, versus a newly reformed Team Spirit with Pep Riley and Sasha Sparks. This was interesting for me because I did not think that Team Spirit was really going to get back together. A part of me was hoping for it and rooting for it, but then there was another part of me that was just like, well, what if they don't? What if they just, just be separate for now? Because Ariel Sky isn't really the leader; she's off on her own. And then we had one match with Pep Riley, going up against Goldie Collins a couple weeks ago, and she lost that. So what would happen if Team Spirit just never got back together? But they did, and I thought this was really interesting. So Animal Instinct, whose initials are AI, which I think it's really interesting, cut a promo stating, well, not Golden, Goldie said, "Well, what an honor for you all to see us tonight. You see, we were a little surprised when we saw who we were wrestling this evening, especially with how my last match with Pep Riley went. It's a slip of the tongue. Sorry. She really called that girl a dog. Like, what the heck? You see, I'm familiar with training toy breeds. I understand their high energy and their resiliency." And then Katarina said, "However, we understand the art of playing with one's food. It doesn't take much to knock them off their feet and hold them down. So, Team Spirit, prepare, because we can smell your fear, for we are animal instinct. Now, in this match, there was a lot of Sasha Sparks gave a lot of lucha energy because she actually gave like a lucha arm drag to Goldie Collins for her disrespect because Goldie was talking smack to her and actually mushed her face. And I was like, girl, why would you do that? And Pep Riley was showing a lot of her cheerleading agility by hitting a cartwheel elbow to Goldie Collins, and but Katarina wound up bouncing back by giving a big boot and a mousetrap DDT to Pep Riley, and then they proceeded to isolate Pep Riley and stomp her in their corner. And then Goldie Collins hit a snap suplex to Pep, but then Sasha was able to hit a stunner and a kick to the back of the head of Goldie Collins. But Goldie and Katarina wound up winning the match with a pause for effect maneuver where I believe Goldie was holding up Pep Riley on her shoulders, and then Katarina hit some type of stunner slash DDT onto her, and then they wound up winning in that way, and that was really good. I thought that was a very impressive maneuver. So Animal Instinct wound up winning. This was interesting. So Katrina, how did you feel about Animal Instinct's performance here and Team Spirit and their ability to bounce back?
I appreciated Team Spirit being able to bounce back. They unfortunately have a really rough go at it for a few weeks. You come in thinking you're doing like you're going to be part of a unit, part of a group, and then the person in charge of your group basically pulled the rug from beneath you. So it's like then you're like even with Ariel, like she kind of left them kind of waiting in the wings as well when she first said she wanted to kind of still kind of beg for coaches, I guess apologize to coach for, what she did and said. And while she wound up removing herself eventually for Team Spirit, it looks like you pretty much left us, kind of threw us under the bus to an extent. And so it's really nice that they were able to kind of it was nice to see them together again because I wasn't sure what was going to happen at first with two of them. Like, was they were going to still be a team or were they going to be just now solo competitors? Because it seemed like they kind of just kind of fell all apart. So it was nice to kind of see them tag again. With that being said, we both said, I think at one point we were kind of surprised with Katarina Jinx and Goldie just because it seemed very different. One of those kind of opposite tracks. You got Goldie, who's like a dog lover, but also, she has the blonde hair. Excuse me. She has the blonde hair, white outfit, and you got Katarina, who's a cat woman. She was posting the cat to see all the time on her Instagram. But then, she's also makeup, outfit, everything is just very different. And so the fact that they have worked very well to the point where they're now having maneuvers together. I'm like, yes, I love a good tag team move. I love a good move when a team puts something together and it's just their move before their tag team. And I thought that was very well done. I thought it was a very creative way to win. Definitely earned my respect. Not that they didn't have it before, but I felt like again, I do love a good tag team move, like truly. And so I thought that was a really great way to win. And it is sad for Team Spirit, but hopefully, even with the loss, they can kind of take it and like take a minute and try again, and hopefully they'll win their next matchup. But just for Katarina or Animal Instinct, uh, as they are called, I think like we've watched them grow from the first time we've seen them tag, and I think they've been doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, they did do a fantastic job. I enjoyed it. And Team Spirit really has had a rough go of it and trying to sort of find their identity outside of being, a faction and now just being a tag team. I appreciated the fact that they, even tried and still sort of brought their cheerleading energy with each other. I really liked that. And how in certain parts of the match especially in the beginning, they seemed to have, the upper hand. But it seemed like Animal Instinct was really out here to prove a point, and they definitely did that. And it's like you said, with the opposites attracting, you would think that they wouldn't work so well together, but yet they do. It's kind of like it sort of feeds into that notion that a lot of people feel like maybe dogs and cats stereotypically don't get along, but then you see those random families that actually do have dogs and cats in their home and they do get along and they actually have a, somewhat cool atmosphere. I feel like that's what Goldie and Katarina bring. That's just what they bring to the table. It's like you wouldn't think that they would get along, but they do. And I think that's pretty great for them. So I enjoyed this tag team match. I'm glad that they found their groove, but I'm still hoping that Team Spirit, finds their groove again because of everything they've gone through in the past couple of months. And I just hope that they get it together again. So, after this tag team match, there was a segment involving Samantha Smart in her office. And when I say this office looked very masculine while also at the same time very intellectual, that's exactly how it looked because I never thought I would see like trophies of animals hanging from a woman's office. I was just like, yo, what the heck is going on here? So you hunt too? Like what is this? Um but she gets a phone call while she's sitting in her office from the disciplinarian. And she, in this phone call, is sort of berating the disciplinarian for her angry attitude and how it's possibly eroding the foundation of IQ Superior. And just the disciplinarian then asked her about a match that might be coming up pretty soon. And she said, yeah, I made the match, but just know if you don't win, I will personally throw you out of IQ Superior. And then she hung up the phone on her. And her talking about her attitude and her anger kind of, harkens back to the very first season of this iteration of WoW, where she was sort of helping the disciplinarian sort of get her anger under control. But it was just like the stuff she was saying to her about it was felt very uneasy to me. And I don't know, actually, I'm just gonna like it just didn't make me feel really good at all. But Katrina, how did you feel about this segment involving these stakes that Samantha Smart is now putting on the disciplinarian?
I think that's not necessarily the smart thing to do. I think Samantha is like, yes, she has brains. Well, I guess why their team is called, IQ Superior, but she's forgetting that both of those ladies are, those are big girls. In regards to like, if they really wanted to knock her out a bit, they probably could. I think she's getting a little like she got the week prior Classmaster was able to have a match with the Beast, and I think she's getting a little bit beside herself now. I feel like she's probably like, oh well, one of my team members got to this, so you have to be here. And a good leader will try to make both members of the team or people part of your unit, making sure both of them get to the place they need to be to so they can thrive. If you're like getting one in one space but also kind of being kind of mean to the other or being rude to the other, how can you expect the team to do well if you're kind of semi bashing one but kind of praising the other? And I feel like you don't do stuff like that. I feel like that's an easy way to cause team discord. That's literally what happened with Exile. That's exactly what happened with, Genesis had an idea she thought worked better, and in turn, she wasn't really nice to the other members. She wasn't nice to Exodus, and she wasn't nice to Ice Cold. And look what happened. It fell apart. And so I feel like you cannot do that if you're trying to make if you want your team to hit a certain goal in WoW, this is probably not the way to do it. And so I have something is telling me that if she keeps it up, she might be down to just one person in her group, and it's going to be Classmaster. So she seems to be all up under her in that regard, in the kind of way than she is, as you saw what she did to GI Jane, and she like basically made it where she had them fight for the leader role, and then she won. And now look what you're doing now. It says you're not really doing well in the leader aspect here. As much crap as we said about Lana Star, she ain't do that to her team. Like she's always about the group as a whole. We're all great, that kind of thing, and she doesn't really put them against each other. And I think in that regard, maybe Samantha Smart can learn a little thing or two from Lana in regards of trying not to maybe have one of your members feel like this, just not with the group. I feel like that was just not the way to do it.
It wasn't the way to do it. Like that irritated me because I'm just like, okay, yeah, the Classmaster did have this world title opportunity, but she did lose. And my thing is, if she lost, and how come you're not pointing some of that aggression and some of that, critique onto her and you're shifting it to someone else? Like that's something else that's unfair that I don't like about it. Yeah, the disciplinarian might not have had that opportunity, but my thing is, at least she didn't have that opportunity and lose it. That's not to say that you should be mean, just because the Classmaster lost that opportunity, but at the same time, the least you could do is point some of that, critique towards the class master and not try to make it seem like one member is better than the other just because of that opportunity. Like, that makes no sense. And why does it seem like Samantha Smart has a tendency to go harder on the black members of IQ Superior, the black female members? And that's not to say that there haven't been other members of other colors, because of course the class master is relatively new, but it seems like she has all of this aggression and all of this jealousy towards GI Jane, and all of this anger towards um the disciplinarian, and it's like she wants to control them so bad, and it's just like, no. What if the one quality that you're trying to tell the disciplinarian not to have is the one thing that could actually propel her to success? It's kind of like Captain Marvel, and how when she was with the Kree Warriors and how they kept trying to tell her to control your emotions and all this other stuff because it doesn't suit you. You need to learn how to fight, your enemies with no emotion, but her emotions is actually what unleashed her greatest power. I really feel like the disciplinarian really needs to have that moment, and her and Samantha Smart might have a come to Jesus moment because of it, and I hope that she does, because Miss Ma'am, you using all this pointed language and talking about my anger and my aggression and how it needs to be in control in 2024 is not working. It's not working. I didn't like it. It did not make me feel comfortable at all. We've got to stop policing people's emotions, and especially policing black women's emotions. Like, it just doesn't make sense. I don't like it. And I hope that somehow down the line, the disciplinarian will actually grab a hold to Samantha Smart and shake her. But, that's just a very personal thing that I think I just wanted. So this weekend, they're announcing they announced that there's going to be another tag team heavy episode with the in ring debut of Roxy Fierce with her sister Foxy Fierce. And then we're going to see the Dojo Defenders and the Brat Pack in action as well. So that's going to be cool. I look forward to watching this weekend's episode, and of course, coming back here and talking about it with Kat. So it's going to be cool. So the main event was Miami Sweet Heat, the Carlson twins versus the Tonga twins. And all of the Fab Four girls, I guess, really didn't get the hint because they came out with the Carlsons anyway. And David McClain actually had to get up from his chair and tell them, no, y'all need to get to the back because I told y'all are banned. And they were angry about it, but they still left anyway. And they were just really angry about it, but the match wound up, continuing the way that it was supposed to because they left. And something that I did enjoy about this match was watching Lindsay and Lori attack the Tongas little by little, um in terms of not just their strength, but then just sort of attacking their legs as well. I really appreciated that because it just shows that they had a strategy, and not just trying to like beat them up or just run them over. Like, they were trying to knock them down piece by piece in order to get the upper hand in that match, and it was very strategic and very calculated, and I appreciated it. But it's kind of hard either way, no matter what your strategy is, to knock down Kona and Chaos slash Ashley and Stephanie. You just can't do it. um because these women are powerful no matter what. And when Ashley and Stephanie actually lifted up um the Carlson sisters and gave them, a double suplex, and just all kinds of different moves that just displayed their power. It was just like, yeah, this is why I love the Tonga twins. This is why I love them. And after they hit their double suplex, they also hit a double hip attack, but one of the twins wound up attacking Ben Scheinberg, the referee, and he wound up passing out after getting smashed. And then the Fab Four came running back to attack the Tonga twins, but Tiki Chamorro bookended this episode by coming out with a kendo stick and attacking all of the Fab Four and having the Tonga twins' back. And it was announced that the Tonga twins won this match by disqualification, even though there was no referee at that point. And that's how the episode ended. The Island Dynasty stood tall and just was really cool. So, Katrina, how did you feel about this renewed rivalry and just the strategy that the Carlson twins had for Ashley and Stephanie?
Yeah. As I did say, at before the match, I did think it was just one of those like, did we necessarily need it again this soon? And this is not even any to any of them. It just for me, it was just like we literally supposedly had what was supposed to be the finale for a bit, you know. And so to kind of have it, kind of reunite it, if you will. I guess in part you can be like, all right, this is one of those feuds that will never end. You got that the never ending feud with like so many people. You think like 10, 20 years, and then like this is the one feud. They always had this one feud with this one person. They might have had other feuds, but it's this one main feud that was there, like the highlight of, I guess, the relationship between the two teams. And so in that regard, I was like, okay, this is what it is, so you accept that now. But I do think that first of all, I don't know how they was able to not like follow directions if you guys were told not to come down. So this is what my issue is always with the Fab Four, because I feel like they think rules do not apply to them. They do whatever they want to do and then seem shocked and surprised if it don't work out the way they wanted to. It's like y'all had one rule. It was one, you had one thing to follow. You just had one job. Stay in the back. It's not like because I feel like in a sense you think Miami Sweet can't handle themselves. It's always what that seems to me is like, we know they can. Why do you not allow them to do so? Let them do what they need to do. Why do you have to come out in some capacity in any form? Let them do what they do. I think they would know themselves better because they're twins. And so I feel like I don't know why they never listen in that regard. Why they gotta always come out? Why it had to even be said? If I was, I would have automatically like, you guys must want to lose. We wouldn't have gotten that far if I was in charge. I'm like, oh, so you can't follow instructions, Tom? Like, we're gonna just end it right there. Tom is win off of principle because you need to follow instructions. With that being said, do I think some aspects of what Miami Heat did was smart? Yes, I do. In regards to if you're gonna like, it's one of those kind of like maybe making a part weaker. Tongas are strong, but they're stronger together. And so it was a smart play to kind of try to weaken them in the way they were doing it. Again, though, with that being said, it would have been fine if they did that without involving the rest of the Fab Four. And I feel like that is always my issue with them. It's like they do things that is like, all right, I see it. I see why you guys would attack champions these many times. And then you do something that just kind of basically just puts me right back to step one, was like, this is why you guys get on my nerves, because you guys are gonna do 20. You gotta always do all this extra stuff that you were supposed to be doing. And so like, why did you have to interject? Why not let the twins handle this, because they clearly are champions. And while some of it was a nonsense, also some of it they did do on their own, and so they can do it. Let them do it. And so Tiki coming out with a kendo stick in mind. I always when I see a kendo stick, I always think of Steve Blackman, because that was my guy. He was always ready to just beat up people with the kendo stick, and I'm like, yes, So sometimes I see somebody with a kendo stick, I'm always like, that's the Steve Blackman energy you get in right now, and I love it. And so I was very glad that just basically Tiki was just no nonsense in her like situations in her own match. In this, no nonsense. She was like, you're not gonna be acting like I'm the weak one, And I was like, as a smaller person, I love that. As a person who's probably a little bit more tinier than people she's around, or whatever the case may be, I truly appreciated that in that regard. I'm like, yes, you let them know who the boss is, and she did. And because of what they did, now Miami Sweet he has another loss on their record, because you guys couldn't follow one direction, which is stay behind backstage. Was a good main event, with that being said. But I do think that, much love to the Tongue as I say this, knowing that they're not there anymore. But it's in that regard, I feel like we're obviously getting to the last of their matches. If this wasn't the last one, I'm not sure. There. And so that's a little bit bittersweet in a way as well, because it's like this is maybe possibly one of their last matches in WoW. And that's unfortunate, though we get to see them, where they land next, and hopefully we get to do that live as well. But it's still kind of bittersweet, because they were, for us, we've been on the Tonga Twins from the very beginning. We've been on on the Tonga Twin train from the very beginning. We was fans of them, and so it's very bittersweet as both of us kind of hosting the show. And oh man, like this is probably one of their last match, if not the last one, and that's kind of bittersweet. But also, I still like in the regard that they were able to kind of get a W, even if it's in a weird way, and that Tiki is definitely showcasing that while Island strong, and this is what they did, and I respect that. So good main event.
Yeah, it was a good main event. Like, let me just say, a kendo stick is my favorite weapon. Like, I just love things you can just swing and then hit somebody with. Like, I love that. I love baseball bats. Like, those are just the things that I just love watching. Just people just get hit with. Like, I love people getting hit with. Gosh, what is that thing called? Like with crutches. Like I just love watching people get hit with stuff like that. And you're right. I wasn't gonna say it, but it was kind of bittersweet watching this match because a part of me low key felt like if they're fighting them again, like in any normal circumstance, sometimes when you're fighting a rival, um, that you've had for so long, it's low key giving that this is the last time. Like that's kind of how I felt about it, and I was just like, so is this gonna be the last time we see them, on the show, or are they gonna keep going, or until at some point we're just not gonna see them anymore? And it is sort of bittersweet in that regard. But at the same time, I do still enjoy watching them on the show and everything that they taped previously before everything happened the way it did, because it just reminds you of why you fell in love with them in the first place. And we did love them from the beginning. It was love at first sight for the Tongas. So it was always, cool to watch their growth and to even watch them as champions in this way. So it does kind of suck in that way, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure they'll land somewhere that will be perfect for them. We're just manifesting that for them right now. And yeah, this match was really good, and the Carlsons really gave them what for. And it is kind of irritating to see the Fab Four continuing to, you know, push their way into things. And we send love to Vicky Lynn McCoy too, because she's not with them either. But at the same time, it just really sucks to see them always interjecting themselves where they don't have to. Because even before the Carlson twins hooked up with the Fab Four, they were still already a great tag team anyway. So it's just kind of like, why? Just why? And it's irritating. But of course, they continue to learn their lesson because Tiki beat them like they stole something with that kendo stick. And I appreciated it. So it was just a really dominant way to end that episode. I really liked it. And I just can't wait to see what's next on this weekend. So thank you guys so much for watching this show live on this other double dose episode of Steph and Cat Talk Wow. I know we're counter programming another amazing show. Um but we just had to get on here and talk about, wow, from the past couple of weeks. Of course, if you want to watch any episode that you might have missed of this show, you can go on both of our YouTube channels and watch it there. And also watch our interviews that we do. Of course, Katrina has her most recent interview with Top Tiers, Coach Campanelli and Crush. So please check that out on her YouTube channel. And just continue to just watch and support WoW Superheroes and women's wrestling as a whole, because it continues to grow. And no matter what promotion you watch, no matter what promotion you love to fan over or whatever, women's wrestling is growing, and we just have to continue to raise our voices for better opportunities, better titles, better storylines, and all of the above, so the world can continue to thrive for these girls that put their bodies on the line. So, Katrina, thank you so much for joining me, like you always do, and just tell everybody where they can find and follow you.
You guys can find and follow me and Cat We Trust the E's at 3 in every place but YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And just again, make sure to check out the new interview I did with 2 out of 3 of the ladies of Top Tier.
Awesome sauce. And know that you can follow me, your girl Stephanie Hardy, on Instagram and Twitter/X at Queen Steph Hardy. Listen to the Hardy Wrestling Podcast everywhere you get your audio podcasts, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel got more subscribers from this past week. So I'm really grateful for that. And also check out all of my latest interviews that I did for Money in the Bank Media Day with Tiffany Stratton, the new Miss Money in the Bank, Carmelo Hayes, who participated in the men's Money in the Bank match and did a stellar job, as well as a Q&A with Chelsea Green, as well as LA Knight. Please check those out. The viewerships are going up for that, and I'm so happy and thrilled to have had that opportunity. And also check out my question that I got to ask Tiffany Stratton afterward at the press conference. Of course, you can watch that on WWE's YouTube channel, but I do have a clip of my question up on all of my socials, so please watch that. It was such an honor to be there and to be a part of it in that way for my own brand. It was so great. And it was such a blessing. So please check that out. I might be recording a new episode of HWP on Sunday so I can talk about everything that happened along with everything that happened in wrestling this week because it's a lot. Um, and of course, be on the lookout for any new articles that I might be writing for Daily DDT because I really got inspired to do more work from my trip. So please be on the lookout for that stuff as well. So, of course, thank you guys so much for joining us for Steph and Cat Talk Wow. Have a fabulous weekend and be safe and love on women's wrestling. Bye, y'all.